Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Arkhan the Black. So Arkhan's campaign starts off in Western Araby, which is the same starting location he had in Warhammer 2, and he's got the Wizard Caliph's Palace as his starting capital, and an additional settlement, the Sorcerer's Island. So he's one of the few legendary lords in the game that has two settlements to begin with. His initial enemy is the Knights of the Flame, which is a minor Bretonnian faction, which is the same enemy he had to begin with in Total War Warhammer 2. Now, in Warhammer 2, Arkhan the Black's campaign is arguably one of the most challenging start positions in the game, because he's not able to eliminate these guys here on turn 1. He starts off fairly far away from them, and these guys have a tendency of sitting in their settlement and just spamming out units. And since Arkhan the Black, or any Tomb King in Warhammer 2, simply had access to only one army and not particularly good units, these guys here could simply out-purchase you. But in Warhammer 3, you can take these guys out straight away and conquer them on turn 1, and Arkhan the Black now has access to an extra army capacity right from turn 1, so those limiting factors that stop him from being able to challenge people on a fair fight sort of situation has been removed. So Arkhan the Black now has a much more comfortable start position, allowing you to potentially have a lot more momentum earlier on. Now, even if that second army is completely full of trash, having an army that's just full of trash can be used to lure enemies off into traps. So it doesn't matter if your army doesn't have all elite units in it, especially on like early game stuff. Just having a second army is better than not having a second army, and all of the other Tomb Kings will take between 13 and 15 turns before they get their second army, at which point you're at your third army. Also, another thing with the Tomb Kings is that there is a hard-coded limit to how many armies that they can actually get, due to there being a maximum of 10,000 canopic jars that you can possibly store at any given time. So you can only activate the new dynasty so many times. So having that extra army capacity at the start means that Arkhan the Black has a higher maximum potential, at least in terms of army capacities, than any of the other Tomb King lords in the game. So that's a big deal there. Now, as for the other effects, they're not that big of a deal. He's able to recruit some vampire count units, the best one of those being the Hex Wraith. He's got bad relations with other Tomb Kings and good relations with Vampire Coast and Vampire Counts. That stuff there is nowhere near as big of a deal as having an extra army right from the get-go. Now, when we look at Arkhan the Black, he is a pretty decent spellcaster. His magic lore is death magic, which isn't really one of my favorites, but at least he has the Curse of Undeath and life leeching, so that really helps him out a fair bit. He's got some decent global bonuses in here, especially for the Vampire Count units, and increasing hero capacity for Lich Priest. Now, that was a big deal in Warhammer 2, but in Warhammer 3, you're able to increase the capacity of Lich Priests, Tomb Kings, and Necrotechs in the Mortuary Cult, which is such a big quality of life improvement. So you don't really need that global bonus, but it's still good to have it anyway. Overall, Arkhan the Black is a decent legendary lord. Probably not as good of a faction leader as, say, Settra, but he's good on the battlefield and he's a decent faction leader. But overall, his campaign is significantly more enjoyable in Total War Warhammer 3 than it is in 2. In terms of difficulty, it really doesn't matter, I think, what difficulty you play this on. Whether you're playing it on normal difficulty or legendary difficulty, there is an appropriate amount of challenge here for you. You can simply just be as aggressive as you feel like you want to be. If you want to really challenge yourself early on, take on the dwarfs fairly early. So there's a fair bit that you can do in an Arkhan the Black campaign, and the great thing about the Tomb Kings is that there's enough content for them to go well into a late campaign without feeling bored. See, that's a big problem that happens in Total War Warhammer 3, I think. A lot of factions, it just feels like you're done by turn 50. Whereas the Tomb Kings, because they're not one of the most powerful races in the game, and it sort of does take them a little while to get all their mechanics and get all the unique bonuses that they can obtain, they have a tendency of being rewarding all the way up into the hundreds of turns into the game, which is why I personally quite enjoy playing as the Tomb Kings. But don't take my word for it. Try out Arkhan the Black yourself, and let me know what you think. So that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of Arkhan the Black, whether you agree or disagree. Let me know which legendary lord you'd like me to cover next. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.